Good morning from the altar ground. Otae, otae, atae o, atae, otae, atae o. A lot of practicing is about remembering. Just sitting with it all. It's not the easiest thing to do. I remember when I was very new to all of these mystical teachings, I was desperately seeking outside of myself. And then I got my ass handed to me a bunch of times in many different ways. Think Dark Night of the Soul, Baptism by Fire, which just sounds scarier than, it is. It's more of just like an alchemy of the soul. Like, the way a stone is polished in the ocean over and over and over and over till it becomes smooth. Not to say that I'm smooth. I'm still rough around the edges in a lot of ways. So then it's learning to accept that, right? It's like this allowing and this acceptance piece that can flow through us. And then the remembering, I was always interested in a universal teaching, which to me never included condemnation or hatred in any kind of way. And I learned that, it's more of an inside job because what we see out there often still has many things that I don't agree with. But how do you fight it all? And it's like you have to give up the fight within yourself. It's weird. That surrender, I would say even forgiveness, but I don't mean it in a religious sense. It's just when you realize that you can be someone you never thought you could be, and you could be the opposite, and it's just a choice. And we all at times have faltered, that's for sure. I don't believe anyone that says they didn't. It's just not, you cannot walk this earth and not be a falter. It's just not possible. Same thing in artworks and art practice and doing the work over the years. You're going to have many failures. You're going to falter. I don't know why we're so afraid or ashamed to say that this just didn't work or I made this mistake. It's because we're not taught. We're that is part of a process of art and living as much as the other things. So you're taught to hide all that, and then that's what gives us the anxiety and more fear because we think we're wrong and we feel shame and the guilt and all that. And maybe you did do something, but that doesn't mean, that you can't reconcile that and make amends, right? And that's what these teachings teach us. When you sit with it all, you have to confront the many selves within the self and realize it's all just a reflection. And of course, stumble again after you have that great divine epiphany and insight, because we're still learning how to be. But that polarity is dangerous. The black and white thinking, that left and right, so dangerous. I feel like we can move beyond that, and I was always interested in something more, as like what I call myself, a universalist, and there was always this sense that it didn't make sense. Like that constant fight that's designed to keep us trapped on some level. So it's like when you free yourself from the trap and break away, you move to this higher vantage point within the self. There's more inner vision of the whole surrounding, which is a very abstract thing to say, and it's actually hard to give it words, but I tried. And a lot of you will know, if you ever came to the clearing within the self, after a long, hard battle, an arduous journey, where you finally gave up the fight, the internal battle, and surrendered to just this moment and walking the path. And sometimes life will give you a kick in the ass, kind of shaking us awake. We don't talk about that in the Western culture, the initiations into life, the soul growth. Everything is just classified and identified and put into these boxes, but boxes aren't neat really when you get in there. It's kind of messy when you start opening the box, right? And letting it all fly. And the divides are really the things that hurt us the most. And that anger, that internal war that just gets perpetuated on larger and larger scale. So how does one free themselves, And I was always interested in freedom, but not how it's been defined by society. It isn't about killing people and owning things, or the power over something. It's that personal power within. That's always how I saw my creative and art practices. Being an artist is the ultimate freedom, because you can say and express anything you want. Anything. It doesn't, but sometimes we think that has to be a certain way, or it's not right, quote right. But who defined it in the beginning? Somebody had to define it so it could also be redefined. And then ultimately you learn to define it for yourself over time. And that becomes the real path inside of ourselves, when you look at everything and ascertain and assess and start putting it all together on your own and say, no, this is just what it is for me, and I'm going to exist here fully no matter what, because I do. And I'm going to speak into my truths and share my expressions, and that makes a rich tapestry of life and that divine dance of creation. But destruction also comes in order to shake us awake into new understandings, and you never know who or what or why or where or when or how, just moment to moment, where this dance is always being orchestrated, and you can choose to join anytime. So when we come online and align to something deeper within, we can start to find more freedom. And it's really that internal feeling state that's going to give us the most answer in the end. But of course, more answers or just more questions. So then you learn to let it be more and more and let go more and more. And then you'll come to another obstacle and another mountain and you'll have to climb it again. So we're always spiraling back around to that center point and coming back out. And each time there's maybe a little more vision and clarity. And it's just a choice.